Well, and a reminder to all, Scott, the committee investigating the insurrection is bipartisan. I want you to listen to Republican Vice Chair of the committee, Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and what she is saying about her own party.
The Republican Party has to make a choice. We can either be loyal to our Constitution or loyal to Donald Trump, but we cannot be both.
What do you think? Is she right?
Well, she's raising a really, I think, clear point about the Constitution and what happened to the Constitution on that day. I mean, the Congress was engaged in one of its constitutional duties. A group of people that had been whipped up by the president went up to the Capitol to try to stop them from doing those duties. The president also has a constitutional duty here. He took an oath of office to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, which was being literally done that day at the Capitol. And so did he, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution that day? No, of course he did not. Anybody, with eyes and ears and a TV could tell that the day it was happening. And so all these things we're learning now are not of any great surprise because we saw it all unfold on live television. So the point she's making about the Constitution is very important. And I think it's why you actually had some constitutional conservatives, people who call themselves that, end up voting to certify the election that day because they didn't agree, with the concept of trying to overturn an election that clearly had been won by the other party. So it is the word Constitution here is thrown around often. In this particular case, it has real meaning because it really mattered on an important day.
Yeah, 150 or so Republicans voted against it, certifying the election.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did. And look, I recognize any of them could come on here and raise what they would say are, legitimate points about this, that, or the other. But here's the bottom line. The Congress's job here was to certify the election results. The states send the electors. It's the state's job to do that. And the vice president had a ceremonial role. And the president of the United States, when presented with evidence that people were trying to overturn the constitutional order, clearly did nothing. So the only constitutional thing I care about is whether it was being protected, defended, and preserved. And in this case, it was not.
Kirsten, I want you to look at this poll. It's from CBS News YouGov. It shows that 62% of Americans are expecting violence from the losing side in future presidential elections. Most of us don't want that or anything close to it. So what do we do? How do we avoid it at this point? Can we?
Well, I think the first thing is for people to really take this seriously and not just act like, well, it's just going to happen and there's nothing we can do, right? Because that's not true. And I think people are correct when they fear that this is going to happen, though I'm not sure why people think Democrats are going to be violent. That hasn't happened. So, or even just your generic Republican. I think what we've seen is it's Trump supporters are really this is the only time this has happened. So that really, I think, should be the primary fear. Though it does seem this country is just on this collision course that I think that people are rightly very, very concerned about it. But one of the things that the Democrats are spending a lot of time on right now is, protecting our electoral system and voting rights and these kinds of things, which are protecting democracy. And I think that when you envision something happening like violence, you can see how it would happen when there is no faith in the election, or somehow the election is perhaps actually overturned next time, right? Was this just a practice run, and next time it's successful and then there's violence? So we have to take this seriously and we have to engage it as the threat that it is.
Scott, from the big lie to COVID conspiracies, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been permanently suspended from Twitter over COVID misinformation. She no longer has the power as a social media channel, but she is still empowered to legislate. How dangerous is that for our political leaders are so distanced from reality?
Well, I mean, there are a number of political leaders in both parties who are well beyond what I would consider to be near reality. She's one of them. There's plenty in the other party as well. I'm a little uncomfortable, candidly, with the idea that unelected tech bureaucracy can unilaterally ban an elected official from its platform. I mean, I guess it's their right to do that, but I think it does raise serious questions about the role of these platforms in our overall political speech arena. So we'll have to sort that out as a country. I do think it's a little I mean, there's plenty of misinformation out there. Not all of it's coming from people who carry Marjorie Taylor Greene's political ideology. Some of it's coming from the left, and they don't seem to get banned. And I think it raises a lot of questions. I don't agree with some of the things she said. Most of the things she says I find to be, Looney Tunes. At the same time, I'm pretty protective of speech. And when people are banned from platforms, I think we ought to think real deeply about that as a country.
The tickle, Kirsten, sorry.
Oh,
I don't know if
it's
you've
okay.
ever gotten that live. Listen, I want to turn to voting rights right now. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer looking to change up filibuster rules in an effort to get Democrats' voting rights bill passed. He is planning on calling up a vote to ease up those filibuster rules January 17th, but he is facing pushback to his own party from Senators Manchin and Sinema. Do you think there's any chance the rules will change?
I think it's really, really small. I'm not, I know that obviously this is something that Democrats feel very strongly about that needs to be done, and I think that that's correct. But I think we've been down this road with Joe Manchin before. So there have been reports that there's been some sort of movement with him, but his public statements haven't changed. And so, a lot of effort is put into moving him, and he doesn't move. And he's been very clear about the fact that he does not support, getting rid of the filibuster. Can they come up with some sort of really specific carve out that he would agree to? It'll be a miracle if it happens, I think. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but I think it'll be a miracle.
Thank you, Kirsten. Thank you, Scott. Sorry for coughing in your ear. Sorry about that. Happy New Year to both of you.